This chair moves around a lot. Hi, my name is Adam, and welcome to Rubicon, where we talk a lot about real estate investing, but we also talk a little bit about business. And so, if you're coming from either of those two perspectives, hopefully you find this channel helpful. So, have you ever wondered if a house is actually in good condition? Have you ever wondered what the history of a house is? How do I know if a house has been neglected? If you've ever wanted to get answers to these questions, the person that you need on your team for your real estate investment business is a house inspector. A house inspector is going to help you answer these questions because their job is, as their title would describe, to go into a house and inspect it. And so they have a list of items that they go through, and they can tell you if this item is in good condition, if it's in need of repair, if it's in a state of disrepair, or if they're unable to make a comment about it as well. So typically a home inspector is a certified professional, and they usually spend a few hours investigating a house to identify if there are any risky areas or problem areas that you need to be aware of as a home buyer. Now, like any professional, even though they are certified, not all professionals are created equal. I've mentioned this as advice a few times in previous videos, but I'm going to mention it again here. If you are looking for a good home inspector, one of the best places to start is by asking friends and family, because they will have firsthand experience of exactly how detailed and thorough this person is. And this person needs to be very thorough. Some of the bigger ticket items that you might need someone to investigate are the condition of the roof, how old the furnace is, how old the hot water heater is. Is there any electrical circuitry that wasn't done to code, or is the plumbing in good condition? Is there any history of any water damage, or is there any history of repairs that were done poorly? Home inspector is hopefully going to be able to spot some of these items. They'll have the tools and the cameras that will help them get into all the little nooks and crannies. And hopefully they're able to surface some of these concerns to you before you make the commitment to buy this house. So one of the questions someone might ask is, well, when do I bring the home inspector into the process? So typically speaking, you're probably going to spend about $500 on a home inspector, and that's cash out of pocket for you. So with that in mind, you don't want to be bringing a home inspector to every single house that you're looking at. And typically, because their job takes several hours, this is something that needs to be coordinated with the seller of the house, which means that typically you bring the house inspector in after you've made the offer, but before you've actually closed on the property. So what this means, we'll just talk about the sequence of events here. You go to a house, your real estate agent is showing you this house, you like the house, you decide to make an offer on it. The seller decides, yeah, I will accept your offer. And then at that point, and typically that offer, when you've made it, it's conditional on an acceptable house inspection. So it's conditional on, there not being too many crazy surprises in this house inspection. So that's when you call up your house inspector and you coordinate meetings so that that house inspector can go to the house and spend a few hours getting into the nooks and crannies of that house to figure out what exactly is it that you're buying. Sometimes the house inspector will let you observe their work. The house inspector that I've worked with, he really encourages it when the buyer is actually present, especially during maybe the last hour of his visit. That way he can walk me through all the little details that he found in person. My inspector took the time to say, well, in my report, I have to mention that this is, severe or, high, but it's not a huge concern for me. These are some of the things that he mentioned to me. So it was really helpful being able to do that walkthrough with him, because even though it shows up in the report as severe or old or dated, those may or may not actually be alarming things, but because he's an inspector, he has to make note of them and write them down. Likewise, there might be some things that aren't a huge risk that maybe other people might think is a pretty big risk, or something that might deserve attention very soon. And so even though it doesn't have strong wording on it in the report, it might be worth your attention. And so having some FaceTime with your inspector is usually quite helpful, so that they can help explain some of the nuance and the detail in their report that maybe, might be a little bit lost in black and white text. So typically one of your biggest takeaways after the home inspection is you have a really big report. It might be 20, 30 pages, and it's got pictures in it, and it's got descriptions in it, and it goes into extensive detail about a lot of different facets of your house. And what this allows you to do is just get a really good understanding of the condition of the house that you're buying, and one, decide if you actually still want to buy it, and two, if there's enough major things on that list or in that report, do you want to renegotiate the price? Because these might be details that the seller may or may not be aware of. But also, because you weren't aware of these things, it is perfectly reasonable for you to go back to the seller and say to them, hey, I didn't know that this house needed a new furnace and that's going to cost $4,000. Or I didn't know that this house needed a new water heater. That's going to cost $1,000. These are expensive items. Items that if you want, you can ask to have them knocked off the price of the house. Now, whether or not the seller is going to be cooperative at this point is really up to the seller, but it doesn't hurt to at least ask for these things as discounts off the house because, of course, these are new developments for you. And to be perfectly honest, the seller, if they've held on to the house for a period of time, the seller knows that these are deficiencies that need to be dealt with. And now that that has surfaced, they probably need to be a little bit more flexible in where they stand on their price. So now that you have this report, you can go back to that seller and say, well, now that I know more about the condition of the house, I might want to negotiate accordingly. And again, depending on how that negotiation process goes, it might fail and then maybe the whole deal falls through, or it is successful and you manage to get the house for an even lower price. And then now you move on to closing. And this is where you will get a lawyer involved. And that is a topic of discussion for a future video. So there we go. That is a quick summary of your home inspector and the role that they play as a member of your real estate purchasing team. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something. If you did learn something, please click the like button below, and don't forget, if you would like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button right down there, and you'll be notified hopefully when new videos are posted. And additionally, if you think that this video might be helpful for somebody you know, please don't hesitate to share this with them so that they can begin this educational journey along with you. So thanks again for all of your time and all of your support, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye now.